hard. It was really hard. No one knew what was going to happen, and no one knew what we were trying to do. I don't think we realised what we were trying to do when we started it. I think we all just thought it'd be okay, and obviously it wasn't. And I think that's really important for people to understand, that as much as we wanted to do it and we wanted to put on a good show, there was a side to it that maybe not everybody saw or understood, and it wasn't summer in Seb's world this time round. It was a little bit cloudy. I'm drowning in my history, prison out past defeat. Tell me what the future holds. Tell me, baby.
Whenever we go on tour, it's such an exciting event. It kind of feels like a school trip, because we all get packed up, we say goodbye to our families, and we've got this really exciting adventure ahead. This particular tour was a long time coming, so I think the excitement was probably more than any of the ones that I remember.
So when we were originally going to go on tour, it was just before COVID hit. Yeah, it was frustrating probably more than anything, the fact that we'd got the album, we got a single, we got videos, we were there ready to go, we were rolling, and we always look forward to our tour. That's the one thing that I think we're best at, so for that to be pulled away from us, and nobody's fault, it was really frustrating.
To keep the momentum going and to keep ourselves visible, to give our fans something to, you know, keep hold of until we could actually get on the stage. We were able to speak to BMG, and they came up with the idea to do the second part of What the Future Holds. So in fact, we had all this incredible new material and all these other ideas ready for this amazing tour that we ended up postponing, but we got to do.
The tour has always been a Steps baby. That's what we've always said, the tour is our baby. So basically it's the meeting the fans, it's the being on stage performing, because we're all performers at the end of the day. That's why we audition, that's why we're here.
Because we are so heavily involved in the designing of our tours, and we have, you know, ever since the first tour. So it's you know, from the initial concept and the ideas for the set, costumes, lights.
It's a long process, designing a tour, deciding the set list, the costumes, the whole creative element is really exciting, especially for us because we have so much input with our shows. It usually starts with a little Zoom meeting because we live in different parts of the world.
It was exciting, but it was weird to be, normally we do that in the room together, and you present your ideas and you present what everything's going to look like, and it was great because we were all in our own spaces getting excited about it, but weird at the same time because we weren't all together talking about it.
Pre-COVID, we were all like ready to go at the beginning of 2020. In fact, I think the week before everyone went into lockdown was when suddenly I got a call saying, cancel everything, all of our plans are off, we're pushing it back, we're not going ahead with the announcement next week. And everything stopped, obviously. Everyone went into lockdown everywhere. I went from being about to creative director, huge arena show, to getting a job in a Tesco warehouse, so I had something to do and could keep busy and pay my rent. It was there, working nights in a warehouse, where I put the ideas for the show together. Built a stage set out of bits of card that I could pull together, had Zoom calls with the band, and we did it all. All of the initial ideas happened through lockdown, isolation in our own countries and places. It was a very odd way of coming up with the ideas of a show, but it kept us all going and it kept us all excited about the future, so it was a really nice thing to be doing.
When Frank brought in our lovely little model with all the moving parts, it was so exciting because then we could see the little catwalk that was going to go down the front, and we're like, how are we going to get in there? We want to have like a little reveal that no one's done before. So it gets really exciting. Those initial moments are just brilliant.
The concept of the show being called What the Future Holds Tour, we wanted to play with time. So we start the show, the first section is in the future, and we set that up, starting the show with the title track. We have a countdown going down to 0 and then flipping into the future, and we have a whole futuristic section. And then we play with time. So we go to the 60s. We go to the 1600s, but have a bit of a disco element as well. We go to the end of the 90s when Steps were at their initial peak and, you know, the biggest pop band in the UK. We then go to the present day. And the story of the show is basically live in the moment, enjoy yourself, and make the most of what you've got around you.
I am such a pop fan. I love great pop music. And for me, Steps has great songs. So which ones do we leave out? That's a big problem.
The set list is one of the hardest parts because we're in a very fortunate position where we have so many amazing songs now that it's very difficult to put 6 or 7 albums into a 2-hour show. So I always find, you know, behind the scenes of it fascinating, and it still excites me to this day.
The set list is a collaborative process between everyone, but I start off, once I've got the themes of the show, putting it into an order that works for me. I try and make sure that they are performing their biggest hits, that we've got some album tracks in there, that we've got the recent singles, that we have some new versions of songs that they performed lots of times before.
And then I suppose we kind of all just put our heads together and take a while to go through it and think what song works best next to another song, how they relay, is it going to blend, is there going to be a medley, is there not, are they just standalone songs? And I think it's great when we work with the people that we work with, all the creative directors and everybody involved, that all brains are put together. So it's not just a band going, well, we think this is best, because somebody else might have another angle on it, and that angle might be the way to go. But what I like is we all put our say into it, and we're all involved in creating the show.
I think a lot of people would be surprised what goes into a tour. You know, when people arrive at a show, maybe some people just think, you know, we press play and we just, you know, get on with the show. But no, there's a lot that goes into it. You know, there's a lot of planning. We do weeks of vocal rehearsals and harmonies, working out parts, adding parts. So it's very exciting.
So before choreography, before anything happens, we have usually 3 days at a rehearsal studio. In this instance, it was Ritz in Putney, and that is only about vocals. So it's about singing every song in the show, working out. Sometimes there's songs, obviously, that the 5 have sang a million times. They don't need to learn anything, they know it, that's absolutely fine. But sometimes they're a different arrangement. Sometimes you'll have new songs that they've never performed before. And so one of them is about working out how things are split up, making sure that a lot of times when Steps make a record, they add their bits, but they also add harmonies, overdub things. So actually working out who's singing what in the chorus, all that kind of stuff is really important.
Those first few days when we're doing vocal rehearsals at Ritz, I think they're really important for me, especially because I'm always quite nervous starting new rehearsals and new things, and especially when it comes to the singing side of it, because that's really important to me, to make sure that it's right. I think in the old days it was always the dance bit was most important and that was what mattered, but now I need to be able to know that how hard it is for me to sing, and am I going to be able to do that whilst, you know, waving all my hands in the air at the same time. So I know going into dance rehearsals that actually, do you know what, that's lovely, but it's never going to happen because I'm doing some ridiculously high note at the top of my voice. So we just need to tone it down. So it helps me figure out what I'm actually capable of.
We have all our music and we literally just sing through the whole show. and we kind of, you know, go over all our harmonies and make sure everything's sitting nicely. For me, it's lovely because as much as I love the dance element, it's really nice just to sit down with my band and just sing through our songs.
So I think on this one, we started with a basic set list, and there were ideas that, you know, you're always great with saying, you know, well, I've no idea if this is going to work and it sounds crazy, but what happens if you do this and this? Which I love, because I love putting things together that shouldn't really be put together and you don't think are going to work. One of the first things I always do is the intro, because that's the thing that's going to set up the whole show. And I knew that had to live in, even before I'd seen the video, I knew it had to live in this kind of futuristic world.
He's quite a big fan of More is More, which we all are as well. And I think it always just it creates that atmosphere of anticipation and excitement that you know the audience are going to feel.
When you're putting a show together, touring and rehearsals, they're fun, but it's actually quite stressful. And to plan it is like a military operation. Throw COVID in the mix and it's something else. We were testing every day, obviously, because we were at the height of the pandemic. We were rehearsing in bubbles. The dancers were in a separate room. Our choreographer was in a separate room. Then he'd have to test to come and be in contact with us. Then our dance captain would kind of show the dancers what we were doing. It was just, oh my goodness me, it was mind-blowing. But we did it.
Having dancers, we all agreed that we should and we wanted to, but how were we going to do that because that's adding more people into a bubble, if you like. Up until that point, it was just the 5 of us, and you and Steve, and not even Mark, because he'd been rehearsing with the dancers. So the way we got around it is to rehearse. We rehearsed separately from the dancers the whole time up until production rehearsals, which isn't unheard of, really.
For the first few weeks, we kept everyone in a separate studio, and we were almost creating 2 separate shows. But on the last few final days, we managed to put everyone in one big studio, still socially distanced, but we could see the coordinates of the stage plot before we got into production.
The really, really special part of it for me is the dance auditions. So I trained as a dancer and trained at Italia Conti's, and have been dancing all my life, and that, you know, it's a really big love of mine. And when we were auditioning for the dancers this time round, it was fascinating because it's so eclectic and so diverse, and there are so many amazing dancers from different walks of life, and I always find that really interesting. And it's people watching, and it's, you know, being a fly on the wall and kind of watching everybody's styles and their warming up and how they present themselves.
I think because naturally you want to see the show straight away coming together as one whole picture, but because of the way we had to make the show as they're separated anyway, it kind of worked. I actually quite enjoyed it because the dancer energy and the band energy, it's good to keep them separated anyway, and I could fully focus on the band when they were there and attend to all of their needs rather than the dancers distracting me or vice versa. So it was almost like we were creating 2 separate shows in 2 separate rooms. It got a little bit harder towards the end because you want to start seeing things come together and being like, what does this look like? But I actually quite enjoyed it. I recommend it to any choreographer. It's good.
We were super, super careful, and our bubbles were so tight. We were testing every day, and then sadly, Faye came into contact with a COVID case, so she very rightly had to isolate, which meant she missed a block of the rehearsals. So I was there filming everything for her, sending it to her WhatsApp just so she could catch up, and I was just me explaining I'm not that great at choreography anyway, so it was like the blind leading the blind. Not good.
During the rehearsal period, I got to go home and see my family on the weekend, and then we were coming back on the Monday. And so I did my lateral flow, and I said, Benjamin, you go upstairs, do your lateral flow as well, because he had to do it for school. And then I heard, Mum! And my heart sank, and I was just like, what? And he said, there's a double line, and he was at the top of the stairs and I was at the bottom of the stairs going, okay, don't come anywhere near me. What do we do? What do we do? And he had no symptoms, we wouldn't have known. But then my heart was just like, what am I gonna do? I can't go into the room with the rest of the band, because what if I have got it? And I couldn't stop the tour. I mean, had I have stopped the tour, it's just unthinkable. So we made a decision. We had lots of WhatsApp chats and Zooms, and I spoke to people individually. I had lots of tears, to be fair. And we decided that I wasn't going to go back into the room for everybody's safety. And so I ended up rehearsing on my own in a hotel boardroom with videos, and speaking to the guys at lunchtime and on breaks and clarifying different moments.
It was really tough, and I know it was really tough on her, because we spoke quite a few times, and I think everybody just thought, oh, she's not here. But actually she's going through all the emotions of feeling guilty that she's not there, feeling nervous that she's not there, and is she going to be ready, even more so than the rest of us, feeling like perhaps we're all terrified of COVID kind of coming in and the show not happening at all. So
we missed her. It put a tiny bit of pressure on us, but Faye is a trooper, I will say that. And what I will say about Steps as well as a whole is if something tends to go wrong, let's say, or we're suddenly up against it, we kind of pull together, and we've always been like that. We're very good at doing that, and we've always got each other's backs, and we're very professional. And I think it's because we care so much.
In a way, it was lucky it was Faye, because she's so professional.
Because she's almost the dance captain of the band. She knows exactly where everyone's going. She even helps me sometimes when my memory goes, what am I doing next? She's kind of there, ready to assist me in a weird way. So we FaceTimed like every other day if she had any questions about everything. I knew she'd be going over it in the hotel room. And when she finally came back, it was like she just popped out for a coffee. Like she knew exactly what she was doing, slotted straight in like a true pro.
But it's just a really weird learning curve the whole way along. It's just like, how do you adapt to each stage to make sure that we get this on the road so people aren't disappointed?
Here is where all the madness is. Ooh. Bird's eye view. How cool is this?
So we've gone singing, dancing, putting them together, working out where people walk and talk and what's going on in the set, and then we move it to the set of production rehearsals. And the way it works is we're usually in a big warehouse somewhere. We actually build the set as it's going to be, and we get to practice on that, so to speak, and get used to the changes, the props, the lights, the effects, the big screens, everything that's going on. But when we get there, it's kind of, that's like the start of it, really. It's
just fascinating, because every single time I feel like a child, you know? I feel like a child in a sweet shop. And so you go from the studio, and then you walk in and you see our stage for the first time, bearing in mind we've been looking at little models and things like that from day one, you know, small scale models. And then so to see it actually in the flesh, it's incredible. It's such a wonderful feeling. And what's nice is we always want to walk out together to see our stage for the first time. So that's kind of a bit of a tradition of ours.
You get a chance to go underneath the stage, you learn where your exits are, any trapdoors that are going to go down, how long it takes, the balance of it. There's a lot of health and safety involved.
Here we are again.
So lucky, aren't we?
Oh my gosh.
Such a massive moment, isn't it?
The last time I was here in this room was with my little boys. I'm actually going to tease you. We can see it, but you can't. The set looks really good, guys.
You know what though? Honestly, we feel so blessed. We're so lucky to be here doing this again. So, big love to everybody.
We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
I love that process of just seeing something for the first time and then we piece it all together. All of the little jigsaw pieces are in place and then we end up after a week with a full show. But to see it initially in its early stages is so exciting.
Production rehearsals is the first time that every department actually gets together in one space. So we have lighting, we have the video team, we have choreographer Mark with the dancers, we've got the band there, the costumes start to come in to play. And it's the first time that you see all of it together. So we slowly take the show, build it and build it up until we have something in front of us that resembles a show. And it's a really difficult process of about 10 days. For that 10 days, I never leave the building. I live in the building. Lighting, video live in the building. The wardrobe team live in the building. We never leave, and we just work as many hours are needed to create the show.
You've got catering staff, you've got crew, you've got trucks, you've got hotels, you've got dancers, you've got so much going on, and there is always going to be a chance of COVID creeping in. But what we did is we kept our own little bubble, even in rehearsals, even in the dance studios. We would just be the 5 of us and the choreographer, and that's kind of what it was. So none of the dancers came near us, and you'll notice actually quite cleverly on tour, no one danced with a dancer, and we did that on purpose. No one was within a metre of a dancer, again on purpose, and it was just to try and stay safe. And during the rehearsal period, it was a bit weird because it was just like doing our own show, but just us.
We made the decision that we were going to bubble from that point, which meant, which is weird for me, not seeing our families, which sounds so stupid.
This was going to be really, really tough, because it was the first time a lot of us had been away from our family and our children for such a long period of time. But it's this decision we had to make the tour happen and to keep everybody safe and well, just to see it to the end. So for me, you know, my boys, they are 5 years old at the time. So it was really tough.
I'm FaceTiming my family. Hey, family.
Say hi, Star Lily.
Hi.
So during rehearsals, my family came over to see me, which was lovely, because we knew we had a long stint on tour, and the guys felt it was best if we were in a bubble. So, and that was obviously really hard, because I come from a family of performers. Obviously, my husband is a dancer and creative director, and our children are singers and dancers and following in our footsteps, which is super sweet. And they just love it, and they share the love that we have. So it was really hard that they didn't get to see the show.
I think we're so used to, as much as we're on tour and we're away, oh God, ugly cry. We're used to our families kind of coming and joining in and being part of it. Oh God, stop. It felt a bit like we had to say to our families, you can't come in case you make us ill or something, which I never ever would normally care about. You know, if my kids are ill, I'm there regardless, catching puke in my hands or...
For me particularly, I live really close to the Newcastle Arena, and that was a few shows in, and it was really... it pulled on my heartstrings big time to literally have my house and my family and my husband and son and the dogs down the road, and I literally couldn't see them. And it was a really, really tough decision, but everyone was in the same boat. We were all just keeping the tour safe, and that was paramount, and we were all in the same boat. It was hard, but that's what we had to do.
But on the other side of that, I think we were all very much going into production rehearsals on a level playing field. We were all in the same boat. We've all got kids, we've all got families, which is the first time really we can say that, you know. I think we're all in very, very different situations and we're all in very different stages of our kids' lives. And for the first time in a very long time, it did put us on a level playing field. So it kind of meant that we had to rely on each other a lot more than I think we ever would have done before. It's been a very, very long time since it's been like that with the 5 of us. So in a way, it was horrible, but also helpful.
There was a really nice moment in the show with, we used some old footage from H's camcorder from back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Hi, we're Steps. Hi,
I knew that he had this footage because we'd discussed it before about doing something with it at some point, and he said, like, keep it super quiet, but here you go, here's all the tapes. So we'd rehearse in the day, and then at night, I would sit there going through all these camcorder videos, making timecode notes, and he was so super sweet. He just gave me the tapes and was like, just do what you want and then show me. And I showed him once I had the edit, and he was so touched and moved by it. It was lovely. And he then got the band together and we presented it on the big screen so they could see.
I can't believe that it's been that long since all that stuff was filmed and when we did it. It was quite emotional.
Whenever I think of H in the early days, he was always the one with the camera, Polaroid. He would always be asking all the stars at Top of the Pops for selfies and things like that. And it was a bit of a joke, you know, we'd be like, oh, here he goes again. And I'm actually really grateful that he did do that because he's documented everything and he's kept everything.
We all got a little bit teary. It's amazing to see like the original stuff that we hadn't seen before. You know, we were real babies. We've come so far.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You said that with some determination.
I'm ready.
Great. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Here we are. Chucky! Today we are in Nottingham. We're in Birmingham. Hey, hey, hey. Today we're in Newcastle. Manchester. Welcome to Aberdeen. Belfast. Liverpool Arena. We are in you.
The chain reaction part of the show was one of my favourite bits. Absolutely loved it.
The drumming meant a lot to me because my dad is actually a drummer. He was a drummer in a band. And it was such a fun moment and it was brilliant. It was a great idea of Frank's.
I took it very seriously and wanted to make sure we looked like we were doing it properly. So we got Tom Meadows to come in and each give us our part. So we were all doing something that correlated to the track. So we weren't just blindly banging the drums.
I wasn't sure if we were just pretending, but we did it. You know, we learned all our riffs, and I loved it. It was honestly, it used to make me smile and make us laugh every single night.
You know, we've got the coats on, there's hats, there's glow drumsticks, and it is what it is. But I actually thought we all kept the beats well, the rhythm was there, and there was just that bit where we did it, we'd stop, we know there's more coming up, the audience don't, and you just get that big cheer, and then you suddenly get that dum, 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 and it just all starts to kick in again, and it just lifts. And then I put a little spin in at the end. I don't know if it's on the video or not, or whatever, and then H was following me, and then H started to do it. So by, you know, the 10th show, we're all just like spinning on the spot and then doing a little pose. So we just literally just had fun with it, and that's what it was there for.
Happy birthday to you.
I had, honestly, such a beautiful birthday. It was so lovely. And the funny thing is, I didn't expect anything. So that's what made it even more special.
It was a different kind of affair, because usually we'd go, to a bar, or we'd go to a lovely club and have loads of people around us and drinks. But we got to celebrate intimately. We had videos made for Faye of all of her friends and her family, and that was proper emotional for her.
Happy birthday to Faye. Happy birthday to you. We both love it so much.
And it went on for about 20 minutes, and it was my old school friends, my old dancing friends, family that would never usually do that sort of thing, colleagues I'd worked with, and it ended up being one of my favourite birthdays ever, actually, because everyone had taken out a big moment to think about how it would be for them, I guess, if they were in that situation. It was just amazing. And of course, Lisa did the splits at the end of the night.
And then for Lisa's birthday, I got in touch with her husband, and he recorded a little message from him and her children, and we played that on the big screen for Lisa. And I know that just sent her into pieces. She loved that.
Okay, so I'm going to get emotional, because it was a big moment, but my lovely bandmates, I still can't say it.
Was going to say a few words, but please say them. No, I'm not going to say them, because I think there's somebody else that might be able to say them better for me.
So they'd recorded a message for my family, and it was really special. And I can't talk, and it really choked me up.
Hi, happy birthday!
We're also sorry we can't be there for you, but hopefully Steps and Birmingham are looking after you and celebrating with you.
Love you!
Love you.
See you soon!
Love you, Lisa! Happy birthday.
Oh.
It was a lovely moment.
And now she's not going to be able to sing for the next 10 minutes, so if you can all go and get a coffee or something,
thanks,
that'd
can
be
you all
fine.
go to the bar whilst I get us all together? Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you for singing Happy Birthday. Thank you. These guys are amazing. And I've been spoilt today. I've got my mum.
We'd been planning this tour for years, and then it was postponed once, and then we managed to get the show on the road. And we'd worked so hard. We put our blood, our sweat, our all into designing the show and to putting on a show for our fans. And then to have the news that Faye had tested positive, that was like a dagger in our heart.
I had a day off in my room, and I kept on sneezing, and I was just like, oh, I feel like I've got a bit of a hangover. Had some Prosecco the night before, so I was like, okay. And then when I did my lateral flow, it came up as positive, and I was like, no, that's completely wrong. So I literally did 4 in a row because I didn't believe it, and then I had to make the phone call.
I remember that morning that we were told about Faye, this WhatsApp group just appeared, and Adam said, can we all be on a call in 10 minutes? And everyone's like, I'm just packing to check out. And everyone was a bit kind of, I don't think anybody realised at first that Faye wasn't on it.
I was gobsmacked. I couldn't figure out how that had happened. I wasn't in any different place to any of the other band members. We were trying to think, what was it? It was around my birthday. I was handling birthday presents, cards. I don't know, who knows? It was the most difficult thing to swallow. How me? I've been so safe. It's just my, it's the way I am to be super safe anyway, regardless, in any situation, and I didn't want to be blamed for taking the tour down, and I didn't want people to assume that I'd obviously had a night out somewhere and, and I hadn't stuck by the rules. That was really hard because I just thought people would naturally assume that, and I knew that I couldn't you know, take the show down. So we made a decision that the guys were going to carry on and still do the show. And I was like, that absolutely. You get off wherever, dump me where I am, just get on that tour bus and go and sort out the show, because we can't let all these fans down. You know, we've been planning this tour for 3 years. Little old me is fine. You know, just shove me in a corner, get me out of the way of everybody and just get cracking.
I never thought that we would be able to do it without Faye. I kind of thought that was one of the scenarios where we just wouldn't, it just wouldn't happen, that was it. And I thought, that's it, the tour's over. And then it was decided that we'd try and go ahead and carry on. I think it was just awful though, because, you know, one minute we're all there in a hotel together and the next Faye's not on the call and she's going home and we have to carry on without her. It was just, and up until that moment, I kind of, all our spare time I'd spent with Faye. It was just, I don't know, it was really weird.
I remember we were just sitting on the bus in disbelief going, what do we do? Do we carry on as a four? Do we pull the whole tour? We all had to get tested to see if we had caught it off Faye. There were so many logistics and emotions running around. It was hard to know what to do.
I think, you know, it was such a tough time because we were, I think we were over halfway through the tour, and of course you want to do every show as a 5-piece, and I know, you know, Faye's a dancer like myself, and she loves performing, and I knew how hard that would be for her, and it was really hard for us to get on the tour bus and leave her behind and then have to travel on to Leeds. The four of us just sat down and dissected the show and talked about, we literally took it, I've got the set list and we broke it down and we took it song by song. Okay, which bits does Faye sing on this song, and which harmony does she do? Okay, who knows that line? Who wants to do that? And we literally, we divvied out the lyrics.
It's actually crazy that you can be in a band for 25 years and not know anybody else's lines. But if I was to sing a Spice Girls song or an All Saints song, I know all of those words, every lyric. But come to Faye's verse, what does she sing? What does Lisa do in the middle eight? It is nearly show time, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous. I've got a lot to do. Across the stage, there are post-it notes everywhere to remind me of Faye's vocals and what I've got to do, because I'm covering most of them, so... Faye, come back! It was like a word search. Like, what am I singing? Where am I? Who am I? I was me at one point, then I was Faye.
And then it's like, how do we stage it? Because it's not just you leave someone out, because then you'll always have an empty space somewhere and it'll look a bit weird. So then it's like, do you just go 4 in a line? Do you move things? There's a lot to think about when it's 4, and it's quite difficult to do.
There was a lot to learn in a very short amount of time. It felt like we'd lost our right arm. It was very, very odd, very strange, but we did it and we pulled together, and I was so, so proud of how we pulled together, we worked together, and we pulled it off on the night.
I wanted Faye to be part of the tour, even though she wasn't there. So I asked for Faye's verse to be played in tragedy, and we got the audience to give her a massive cheer.
Okay, Leeds, we're going to do this one for Faye. She's in the room. Do her proud. Here we go.
I was mentioned every show. There'd be cheers when my name was there and my face was on the screen. And it just made it harder because I was sitting in my bed, you know, with the door locked and all my pillows around me and just going, oh, I'm supposed to be on there. It was really hard, but thank you to everybody who sent me all those amazing messages. And thank you for supporting the guys, and what an incredible job they did without me. You know, we're a really special bunch of people, you know, us 5 together. And, you know, I feel really blessed that we have what we have. And I just wanted to thank everyone in the band, my band, for doing that and carrying on, have just been absolute troopers, and yeah, love you guys.
It's like a piece of you missing at the end of the day. That's the only way to describe it. There's 5 of you for 25 years and you're always like a family, and then suddenly one's taken away. Definitely something's missing. It doesn't feel right. But I will say that the meet and greet we did for the first time as a 4, I think we all nearly cried, because I was expecting, what are you doing? This should be cancelled, you should stop. And we got the total opposite. We got so much love in that room, and we were making people so happy. I was actually quite blown away by it, I've got to be honest. And I was like, wow, this is incredible, not what I was expecting at all, and it was really humbling.
It was one of the most scared I've been. But the audience was so with us. That was the nice thing. I'm gonna go again. I think without that, we probably would have all fallen apart, but we do kind of, it's not happened to us often where we've had to do it without one of us, but it's always the 5 of us. It's weird. But if the audience hadn't, I think they carried us through that show and were so forgiving of what we had to do, because they were just, I don't know. We've all been through, I think everybody just understood because we've all been through it, and at some point or another, I guess it's happened, maybe not on the scale of an arena show, but everybody in that room has kind of had to adapt somehow because of what we've all been going through. God, I need a tissue, I haven't got one now.
With the 60s intros, we were obviously in the 60s, and part of my job is to cover costume changes when all these amazing costumes are being changed into. So we always need to have a little introduction, and the idea was to have it in the world of a sort of old 60s TV show like Ready, Steady, Go, and each band member would perform a section of that song.
I think in like old step shows, there's some fans that used to love the band doing their solos.
Yeah.
And I think this gave like a kind of a nod to that without us losing 20 minutes of hits.
Yeah, plus it gave everyone a little chance to kind of have that moment with a song that they really, really love. And I think everyone's picked the perfect songs.
Welcome. We're on set. And Lisa's up. Hi, looking beautiful.
And it panned out really well because we've all got different ideas and different tastes in music. So I went for Baby Love because my mum used to play it to me growing up. So I thought that was a nice one to do.
Well, we were part of a time machine, so we kind of pressed a button and rewound way back to the 60s. And I chose the king of pop, not Elvis, Tom Jones, because he's Welsh. I mean, it's a perfect fit. And I got to murder. It's not unusual.
I personally chose Son of a Preacher Man. I played Eva Cassidy in a musical theatre show previously, and Eva Cassidy recorded a version of that, so it was a song that was quite close to my heart. I wanted to have a different style to everybody else. We all wanted something really individual, and it was just something I thought was different. Who could ever teach me? Was the son of a preacher man? Yes, he was.
The reason I went for Wild Thing is I basically got a kind of, I wouldn't rock, there's some rock stars out there that disagree obviously, like rap stars would disagree with the 5, 6, 7, 8, it's not really a rap, is it? But I've got an edge to my voice that lends itself to a different style of music, let's say, and it's not the pure pop that Steps is about, and I just think Wild Thing was the perfect track for me to sort of showcase that, really, and it just lets people see that there's another side to me as well.
My whole life, my mum always said to me, I want you to sing You're My World by Cilla. God's sake. And I never did, because I just was like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. Syllable line, it's really not cool. So I thought, I'll do it for this. So I did, and that's it at the end.
Welcome to Leeds. Welcome to Glasgow. Brighton. Welcome to the O2 in London. So get your mind made up. Call me on the telephone. I need your love. Kiss my heart and let it glow. You capture me. I can't explain. You call my name and then my heart starts beating. Get your mind made up. Hear your car at 3 a.m. You took your love. You need to put it back again. You shatter me. I can't explain. You call my name and then my... Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You said that with some determination.
I'm ready.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. As you may see, though, tonight we are still a man down. We had to send our beautiful Lee home today to isolate. So please, can you put your hands together, raise the roof and make some noise for our Lee?
I was so excited to come back and actually perform at the O2. I didn't think it was going to happen. When I was travelling in, I got the phone call to say that Lee had tested positive. So my little head was all over the place, because not only was I not going to be on stage as the fivesome, we were going to lose poor Lee, but then, oh my God, what are we going to do on stage? Where are we going to stand? Who's going to sing what?
So tonight we're actually going to need you more than ever. We didn't want to let you guys down tonight, so the choreography may not be perfect. The spacing might not be standing in the right place all the time, but we're going to do our damnedest to give you the best night possible. We're going to have the best night possible. And I'll stand here, shall I? Okay.
So literally, we had to put a new show together from the one that they'd already done without me. We had 2 hours to prepare and figure out where we were all going to stand, and then who was going to do the rap on 5, 6, 7, 8? Like, we literally were like, you can do it, no, you do it, you do it. No one knew what to do. We got the audience to do it, I think, in the end, didn't we? Thanks, guys.
What's that? 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, OK, we have another little message for you guys. We need your help on. Because Lee isn't going to be with us tonight doing 5, 6, 7, 8, we really need you to help us. 25 years and we don't know the word. So will you join in with that for us tonight? Thanks. But now we'll get on with the real show, shall we?
So 5, 6, 7, 8, on the last tour, you and I had this idea of making it the most bonkers, ridiculous, massive version of it ever in a kind of country style. So I felt like, well, we'd already done that, and I was a bit unsure about what to do. It's an odd song because obviously people really love it. And then I remember on many of our WhatsApp conversations, you would send me things that usually start with, this is probably terrible and it's not going to work. And then had this idea of Groove is in the Heart.
And at first, I think we were all a bit unsure because we're so used to how 5, 6, 7, 8 sounds. But then we've got a lovely choreographer, and I think once we saw the choreography, which was very Fosse inspired, we just got it. You know, it clicked into place.
It did freak me out a little bit because I thought, oh God, everyone's going to hate it because it's just not what they think 5, 6, 7, 8 is. I think that I honestly thought the fans would not take kindly to it being so messed with, but the whole combination of the visuals, the choreography, what it sounded like, really just worked so well, and everybody loved it. So it just shows you what I know about our audience.
Finger clicking, leather slapping, hand clapping,
hip bumping, music bumping, knee itching, heel and toe, floor scuffing.
So coming down with COVID, not nice at all. Not to get too into it, I know it hits people differently. Some people are okay, they've got a bit of a cold and 2 days later they feel fine. I was hit by a bus, that's how I felt. I was really bad, I was sweating, I was feverish, I was shivering, I was aching. It got me quite bad. I lost my smell. So it was really difficult to be away from the guys, I've got to be honest. And what made it worse was the hotel we were staying in was right next to the O2. I would open my curtains and there is the O2. Then, you know, I'm isolating in a hotel and then eventually I go home.
Here I am. Not good. Isolating. It's a stupid COVID. Nice flowers above me though.
I'm taken home in an ambulance. It's very glamorous. And I get home and I just say to the wife, stay at the back of the house. I'm literally just going to bring all my stuff into the back bedroom, shut the door, you don't see me or anything like that, and I'm going to stay there. And that's exactly what I did.
We obviously plodded along. We did as much as we can. We stayed as safe as possible. But I think once COVID raises its ugly head and once it gets into camp, it's only a matter of time and it's a ticking time bomb. And unfortunately, it's proven that. You know, we've done so well. We were tested negative all the time. And, you know, all the crew were there, the roadies, the staff, the catering, hair and makeup, beauty, costume, wardrobe, everything. Just everyone really working hard to make it work. The dancers were phenomenal. And we were a great big team. And within that team, our little bubble was a bubble within a big bubble. We didn't hang around with anybody. We didn't see anybody. We were away from our families, you know, and was it worth it, you know? Yes, it was worth it to bring joy to everybody, of course it was, but it's been a nightmare. I've missed my family so much. I know everybody has. I've got a baby boy who's, you know, I haven't seen him for 5 weeks. Now it will be 6 weeks, possibly 7 weeks with the isolation period. And my wife is amazing. What can I say? She's provided this room. It's the best hotel I've stayed in. It really is.
And then I finally got to see Leo, which was brilliant. And, you know, to feel him and to hear him laugh and just what a father should be going through, really, with their newborn boy, you know, at the end of the day.
Negative tests. I think I'm fine now. Let's move out.
When we were at the O2 on the Saturday night, I don't think any of us realised that was going to be the last show. I think I felt like I performed like it was going to be the last one because I was so excited to have Faye back on the stage and just felt that all those little moments that I'd missed up until that point from the show that shows that there's a lot of moments that we had together in that. So having her back, it gave me that kind of lift to perform it like it was our last show. But I don't think we realised it was. So the fact that we had to postpone the last two was really, I don't know, I felt, in a way, there were two different feelings for me. I was almost relieved that it was over and the worry was gone for a period of time. I think up until that point I had held so much in and tried to carry so much on my shoulders that I was relieved that it was kind of over at that point, but then gutted at the same time that we didn't make it right to the end. For those two shows, the fans that had seen everybody else get to enjoy the show and everybody else get to go to their one, and they just missed out on the last hurdle, and we missed out on the last hurdle. It was just, I was gutted.
Yes, we had a lot of support from the audience. Obviously, they understood what had happened. And I think with this COVID pandemic, it's been so tough for people, and people do sympathise and they empathise and they do understand, and we very much felt like the audiences were on our side, and that really helped lift us and get us through the night.
I think there was a really interesting bond that happened within this tour because we all sacrificed so much with staying away from our families, as the crew were, as the sound guys were, you know, lighting, everybody who was on tour with us were making huge sacrifices. And in some ways it kind of brought us together, and there was more of a closeness, and just maybe grateful that we were all pulling together and we were all in the same boat. I know that was definitely the thing for us as a band.
You know, it was 5 or 6 weeks, but during a very scary time. You know, it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that much, but knowing that it meant a lot to so many people, I think it really give us that extra push and that drive to get through it, and to make sure that we did the best we could do every single night, which we always want to do anyway, but I don't know, this time it just felt different and felt more important to give people something that they deserved and that they had waited so long for, I guess.
Once the curtain comes down, you know, we're on such a high and we have to escape really quickly. So, you know, this giant cube that descended at the beginning of the show, that's how the show ends. So the cube comes down, and then we have to scramble down a staircase. The girls are in heels, so I'm there holding their hands, trying to come down. And then we dash to the quick change, get out of our stage clothes, and then we run to our tour bus with a glass of Prosecco, and then we just discuss how amazing it was, because after 25 years of doing this, it never gets old. You never do not appreciate that buzz, that high. It's just incredible.
Obviously, we know each other so well. You know, we've been steps brothers and sisters for such a long time now. We know when people are having a tricky time, you know, someone's a bit quieter than normal, someone just sits at the other end of the tour bus. You know, I think we all probably had a teary day each on different occasions for different reasons, you know. Lee had just had a baby, and he had to be away from little Leo. I think that probably broke my heart the biggest, you know.
We're going to look back at those years and go, who would have thought we would all have to have stayed in our homes? And we weren't even going out in the streets, and, you know, what happened, it's horrific. But then we've kind of gone through that, and we've managed to get on tour, do all this stuff through the crisis of what's going on, and have something to remember it, have something to show.
I don't know, it's a story that I think it's important that we tell, because as much as we are an act that everybody looks at to be lifted by, it takes its toll sometimes. Oh God. And I think it was, you know, I'm glad we did it. I'm really glad we did it, and I think it's important that we did it for the industry in itself. But I don't think I'd do it again.
I'm drowning.